My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Indeed, it is Judd's Hockey Show. Zulgad, AJ Fredrickson with you. We did a Judd's Hockey Show yesterday, but then the Wild played a really entertaining game. Some great storylines against the Capitals last night. So we figured, why the hell not come on and talk some hockey on this Friday, 4-3 shootout win. We actually watched the start together, Age, and I thought, okay, this is going to be, I had told Jesse Pierce during my appearance on the Bar Down Beauties, I thought that the Wild would probably lose by like a goal. Like, it wouldn't be a bad game. They actually won by a goal in a shootout, as I just said. And I think it's only fair to talk about this game because about a week ago, and I think we agreed, the Wild won a game in Dallas that was just a horrific performance by both teams. And I was like very hesitant to give them much credit. They did come back. They won in that case in overtime. This case, it goes beyond that. But I was impressed by this one. I was impressed. They're without, right now they're without Kaprizov. Middleton is out. Spurgeon is out. This is a team that definitely has been dinged up. Flurry starting in goal. But it doesn't get much more fun than a game, as much as I preface this by saying, hate the shootout, it doesn't get much more fun than the Flower, Marc-Andre Fleury, stopping Alex Ovechkin, who, by the way, had scored his 28th goal of his career against Flurry earlier in the game during regulation time. And in this case, the shootout is won, a Boldy goal, and then a Ovechkin shootout attempt. Flurry stops him. Wild wins. I'm not sure about you, but I was impressed. I thought that was a real gritty, stick to it, John Hines approved performance.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the biggest key here is that I feel like they played kind of a hard-nosed, blue-collar game for the first, two periods, and then they recognized, okay, we really need to get points here. We're in a good spot. They came out of that second intermission, and, they were really tuned up in the third. I know they gave up that early goal and didn't get the equalizer until about halfway through, but they came out flying for the third period and really set the tempo. So it was kind of more bad luck that they had the game, I guess, go against them and have to fight back. But a full 60 minutes. It was a really fun watch. And granted, you did have kind of some catastrophic goaltending issues at one point to allow the best Russian on the ice to score a goal, Yakov Trenin.
About it.
So thank you, Charlie Lindgren, for that one. But it was a fun win. It was a fun watch because it was, I think, hints of what we've seen all year and kind of what we're expecting them to find once again. Hopefully this is a kind of a bookmark where you can say, okay, the Wild found their game and now this kind of slump, and I know they're battling injuries and everything like that, but this is a way for them to start maybe a rung in the ladder to get back out of that ditch.
Yeah, so they had lost 4 consecutive games, at least 2 of them pretty badly, and then right before the break for Christmas, they beat Chicago, which is a god-awful team. The Blackhawks are a mess. Then they take the break, they come back, and including actually that Chicago game, they have won 4 of 5. So they beat the Blackhawks, they took the break, they beat Dallas. Okay, that was a stinky win, but it was still, I guess, in the big picture of things, a win. They lost to the Senators in a game they probably should have won here on Sunday. And then they beat Nashville New Year's Eve, and then they beat the Caps to start a 2-game trip, which, by the way, is a tough trip. It's a short one, but the Caps are really good, and they now go to play the Carolina Hurricanes. So it's pretty tough. I want to talk about, there's a bunch to get to here, but I want to talk about Marco Rossi, because I don't think we're giving him, as the kids say, I don't think we're giving him his flowers here enough. He scored last night. That gives him 3 tying goals in the final 10 minutes of regulation time this season. That leads the entire league. And I feel as if there's always, been trade talk surrounding him. Can he do this? Is he a true number 1 center? Are we sweating the details too much about a guy who's just good? Like, it feels to me like when I watch him, first of all, he ain't no train wreck, okay? Like, Do you want him on your top line all the time? I don't know. It doesn't offend me, but I don't know. So I can answer that and say, okay. But as far as he doesn't do this, he's done everything that I think you probably asked. He's gotten himself strong. I mean, he's not a big guy, but he's a strong guy now. And I really feel like, I mean, he's got a clutch gene. The goal that he scored last night after the Tom Wilson no goal high stick, good call, obvious call. Mm-hmm. But that goal that Rossi scored too on a rebound that he stuck with the puck, I just think that he's not getting the credit that he deserves for being a very, very big part of the season. And last thing, the Wild has played 39 games. He has played in every game. So I just think that there's a lot to like. He's starting to get credit. I don't think he's getting enough yet for what he's brought.
I'm fully with you. I mean, through 39 games, the 39 games that he's been healthy for the entire time because of some of the work ethic. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But some of the off-season stuff that he's put into like conditioning, getting stronger, all that stuff. He's got 33 points, 15 goals, 18 assists. If you pan that out for a full 82-game season, he's on pace for 32 goals, 38 points, 38 assists, 70 points. That is a top two-line center, without a doubt. And frankly, not a guy that should be even remotely close to sniffing the area code of a trade block, in my opinion.
Well put.
He's done everything. Like the character-wise, the background of him, the health issues after being drafted. The Wild, I think kudos to them. A lot of people talk about like the business side of things, and I think they kind of looked past that and was like, you know what? We want to stick with this kid, stick by him, support him. And I think he's giving back and has maybe realized that as to why he has sacrificed going home. And instead opted to stay here in the States to train in the off season, bettered his game. To your point, it was under Dean, but he was told, I think, in one of the like end of season meetings on his way out, like, hey, we need you to get stronger. He came back and we saw like workout videos and stuff. It was like Marty St. Louis. And that guy, I think, is known for having thighs that are like tree trunks, just strong. He's built like a truck, that type of thing. You see that now in his game because he, despite being shorter, and I know this is like the case for all of sports, usually guys are listed, if you're short, you're listed at the height with your skates on, essentially. It's not street clothes. So I think he's listed at like 5'9". It's probably less than that, but he plays like he's like a 6-footer at least. He's got a great center of gravity, and he's shown that maybe what we're lacking with maybe Matt Boldy here at times.
Yep.
He's, I think, elevated his play to fill the role while a Joel Eriksson was out, and he's holding his own on that top line. Even when a Matt Zuccarello was out, granted, you're playing with Kirill Kaprizov, that helps a lot, but even now you're seeing him stepping up with a 3-point night against Nashville the other night. The tying goal to force OT yesterday. He is, in your point, not getting enough credit. And I think if you're going to give him his flowers, since he's Austrian, give him Edelweiss. Isn't that like the warrior? The warrior.
I have no idea, but you're incredible.
Thank you.
He's just I feel like he is doing everything that is being asked. And I guess my question too is because of all of the key guys, Kaprizov's hurt now. Eriksson has been, and I guess was limping pretty badly after last night's game. Hopefully it's nothing. But because of all the key guys that this team has missed, I think a very fair question is, where is this team without Rossi? For all we complain about that position, right? The Wild doesn't have a center. They don't have a number one center. Eriksson's good, but it's always, and look, true star centers are really damn hard to find. But I wonder sometimes right now if we're ignoring what Rossi is bringing because he's not bigger, because he's not more, he's not seen as being dominant, which is just a nebulous term. On Boldy, okay? I got a question for you.
Okay.
Should we be celebrating or should we be even more miffed? In the overtime last night, this horse of a man beats not one, but two defenders who are basically draped on him and hits the post on a play where it starts with Boldy skating is fantastic. So he's trying to break away, but he can't. He's got two guys basically sandwiching him, and he still manages to get a shot off that they thought was in, to the point they turned the goal light on. It wasn't in. It hit the post, and then he scores in the shootout, which is his second game-deciding goal of the season and sixth in his career, which is now, I believe, the Wild's all-time leader in that category. But to go back to the overtime play, where do we stand on that? Because at one hand, I'm marveling at oh my God, this guy just, Gordie Howed these two guys. They're hanging on him. He hits the post. It's a marvelous play. But then the other half of my brain is like, and where is this at all consistent? Like, where has this been? I feel like Marco Rossi doesn't frustrate me. I'm just impressed by the fact that he feels consistent. Boldy also has played in every game, but you could do a sheet of what games has he been Matthew Boldy of those 39 games, and what games has he sort of been passenger 12.
I'll give him credit first off. I mean, I love a reminder that he's got that in his repertoire and he's got that skill and that physicality, because that was impressive. I mean, that is exactly what we expect to see, I think, every single night. But the problem with that reminder, like if I'm hungry and you don't tell me that we have the leftovers in the fridge, guess what? I'm still hungry. So I want more Matt Boldy. I need that every night. Get the leftovers out every single day, because there's no reason for us to get that on display in a overtime session against the Washington Capitals, when that should be the case against the Nashville Predators at home and upcoming against the St. Louis Blues at home and the Colorado Avalanche at home. You should be able, and hopefully we see it. We can take the leftovers out this Saturday, 6:00, Carolina Hurricanes on the road. Perfect spot, because they've been a very good, who is it? Nikis has been a top. Yeah. He's been one of the best scorers in all, they look like geniuses for letting go. Jake Gensel now. No.
Yeah. He left for Tampa.
Yeah.
Free agent.
But it's a double-edged sword, because I want to give him props because it's such a fun thing to watch, but also the consistency just is not there.
Right.
It's really frustrating. I mean, what point do you think we can let this go on? Because this cannot, it's a much more elite player, obviously, than what we've seen with a Charlie Coyle or maybe an Alex Tucker or Jordan Greenway. This is steps above, no matter what. You can't argue that. But when it comes to the consistency issues, it's still a problem. It's still there. So do you feel maybe at this point, it's still just, he's in a rut? I'm positive AJ still is thinking, hey, that's hopefully the issue. Or have you maybe switched to, this is just who he is?
Well, here's what frustrates me. The play last night in OT took a ton of skill. Okay. So I'm not dismissing that.
Yeah.
And every night is not going to be your night. But what frustrated me about that play in particular is it not only took skill, it took way more effort than skill. And effort doesn't have to be fleeting. You're going to have some nights where every shot goes in. You're going to score a hat trick. It's just your night. Mm-hmm. I understand that. But your effort should never just come and go. In big spurts too. Not one night, I forgive you if on a Tuesday night you don't play great in Jersey, okay? But when you think about Boldy, and again, we've talked about this of late, it's literally these spans of, oh my God, he's playing great. Oh my God, he's not, and he is a horse of a dude. He's a big guy. He is strong. He literally took two guys draped on him and somehow got off a really nice shot that hit the post, and the Capitals were lucky. And so I'm not willing to forgive that. There's no reason not to see that. You are one of the most important players. You're making $7 million a year. You are one of the most important players. With Kaprizov's out, you're up that depth chart of most important players. And so I see that last night, and I'm like, there is no reason why we don't see this more. And it's the same thing that drove me nuts. And I agree with you. I think he's more skilled. But let's just start with this one. Jordan Greenway. It would just come and go.
Yeah.
And I liked him. I think Boldy is better. Coyle, I don't know. Coyle's a good player.
Yes.
But he had the same thing. Power forward. It would come and go. And there have been times, especially to go back to the start of this season, AJ, where I thought, okay, Boldy gets it now. Because it takes a level of want to. And it felt like there was a long period to start the season where we saw that from Boldy. and then it's gone away. And then last night it reared its head again. And I just have a real hard time. I mean, you are not a bottom six guy. You're not, Trenin, who, by the way, scored a goal last night. I have no idea where it came from. We'll talk about it in a second. But so I get very miffed because I see this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is you. And then he'll just spend periods of time, like you said, against the Predators, New Year's Eve game, where it's like, where was that? Where is that? That is in there. And if you're going to win in the playoffs, one, it's going to be tougher because time and space disappears. And two, you've got to do that every night. There are no nights off when we hit April unless you want to go play golf.
And the thing is, he's got the frame to kind of throw that back in the opposition's face. Like he's skilled and everything, but to your point, he's a horse. He should be able to play strong, like the bully boy role at times and really give it to like the other team. Like don't let their winger just progress up the half wall, throw that shoulder out. You have the stature to put them on their butt. I just need him to turn it around. It as a long-winded way of saying I need Matt Boldy to have a little more consistency because we cannot have the calling card of a hopeful top tier winger be, they're great for 3 games and then they're off for 7 games. They're back for 2 and then they're off for 5. No. We can't have that. He just has to find a level of consistency because we see the play. Just show me the effort. Because back to your point too, you're going to have nights where frankly, just the hockey gods are like, it's not your night. You're going to hit 7 posts. I can live with that as long as the effort level is there. And there's just games right now where it's not. Last night was a great display, especially in overtime, where he showed up. He was like, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm Matt Boldy.
I'm one of your best players.
Yeah,
I'm one of your best players. All right. Choose your own adventure. Trenin short-handed goal that looked like Gretzky, or Ryan Hartman just scoring his first goal, I think his first since November the 19th off the top of my head. Which one do you want?
Let's save. I'm guessing we're going to get to both. Let's save Trenin for dessert. So let's talk. Okay. Let's talk Ryan Hartman.
You go.
I'm glad he's finally showing up. That's what I'll say. I mean, the wake up call, and we were at the New Year's Eve game, sitting there in the club section on the rails. We were talking, and it's like Gus has more points in a span of 19 games than Ryan Hartman. And then about 12 minutes later, he gets the primary assist on a goal and quickly shut us up. So that's great. But Ryan Hartman, former first round pick, I know I'd like to say that kind of in jest sometimes, but he is an everyday NHLer. There's no reason why his level and skills should not just relay some sort of production here and there at times. I'm not expecting a point per game by any means, and I don't think anybody is.
Right.
But when you turn away from kind of the mental game, I got to be a pest, I got to get inside their skin and crawl around and like wear them like a jack. No, just play your kind of nitty gritty blue collar, bring your lunch to work type of game. And guess what? The points are going to come. Yeah. I'm glad that there was times, I think a week or two ago, that I was saying maybe push him down to the fourth line, and Freddie Gaudreau gets that nod up. If he keeps playing like he has the past couple of nights, he is a good middle six guy. Mm-hmm. I think he fits better as a third line center at times because he just the way he plays the game. But middle six, given their injuries right now, is exactly where he should be. Just keep it up. It was nice to see that he's got the monkey off his back, and hopefully now the floodgates are open.
I'm going to give you a comp here, and I'm not comparing them as players because one of the players I'm about to mention is definitely more talented than Hartman. But I'm going to give you a comp in sort of how they approach the game, okay? So it's more of a mental thing. But I think that Ryan Hartman is a poor man's Jules Eriksson Ek from the ability to get underneath the skin of guys. But Ek knows where the line stops. Like if you think about it, how many times, and it's clear guys hate him. Like you see, I have never seen a guy who takes more after the whistle, gets more shots at him than Ek. Because I think he drives guys crazy, which is awesome. That's good. Hartman, when it doesn't go well, feels like he gets so frustrated though that he takes that style of play and takes it too far. You end up in the penalty box, get called, as the only guy for roughing.
Mhm.
I think from a mentality standpoint, if Hartman could take lessons from Eck, because Eriksson Ek does not, he's really consistent, but it's not like he's reeling off points every night. At times he gets really hot. I never question his effort, but I also say, like, he knows what his role is. And his role is more important than Hartman's. But I feel like part of the thing is when the points don't come, the play doesn't come as Hartman expects, that there's a level of frustration that actually builds up his problems. And I'm with you. I think he is a fine when he's going well, because he is not the guy that centered Kaprizov and Zuccarello and had a great year. That's not him.
No.
But when he's going fine, I think he is a third line guy and he's absolutely great there. But I think that he starts to press and then he gets frustrated and that causes it to snowball. And that's when he gets to be, to your point, okay, a fourth line guy or at times a press box guy because you can't trust him not to do something dumb.
When it comes to like the agitation thing, you're right. Joel Eriksson Ek, I think, like, knows the line, but also I don't think he does, from what I understand, as much talking on the ice. He kind of just has that face where.
Well, I think he does. I think he definitely is doing things to jostle. He's pissing guys off on purpose.
I do. Yes, I agree with that. But I think he also just kind of has like that look about him where it's like, God, I want to punch you. And that's where maybe the opposition. But on the other side of things, Ryan Hartman kind of reminds me of like Scott Farkas from A Christmas Story.
Yeah, Farkas,
where he loves to kind of be
Ralphie
that
beat
bully,
the crap out of Scott.
but that's the point. Like at a certain point, he's gonna get beat at his own game, and little Ralphie's just gonna unload obscenities and break his glasses and then get him down there.
Frack.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's similar to, I think, when they played Boston like a month and a half ago or so. Like Marchand was Ralphie. And granted, I think he's a better Scott Farkas or Ralphie than anything Ryan Hartman's going to be. But he just got, or maybe it was Kachuk. It was Matt Kachuk the other day.
Yeah, it was Kachuk. Yeah,
that's what it was. It was
who's
Kachuk,
also a complete pest, but he's strong. He's a strong pest,
and he's just but he's also a very skilled pest. And so that's just an uphill battle all night for Ryan Hartman. So what my point is, he maybe goes out of his way more, but he's also vulnerable to where a Ralphie type guy is going to be able to kind of beat him up at some point and get the better of him.
Sure. Okay, the Trenin goal.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from? So he aggressively goes in on your guy, Lindgren, behind the net. I mean, very smart play, incredibly headsy play. Lindgren, I think, sort of panics.
Yes.
Loses his stick, loses the puck. Trenin looks, because he thought that there might have been a penalty called on him. There was not. Gets the puck on his backhand, comes out front, and scores a goal. What the hell was that? Like, and I'm saying that in a good way. It was a really nice, I mean, that's a penalty. That's a shorthanded demon goal. Like, where the hell did that come from this guy who, again, and I'm not saying he's got a ton of skill. He does not. But if we saw a modicum of that effort, a modicum, and like Boldy's a great player who I want to see more from. I'm just saying the can-do, the high hopes of Trenin. Can you explain that goal? Like, that is the recipe for a shorthanded. That's a hell of a goal, dude.
I'll preface that a little bit. And this is going to sound like such a hater here, but like Charlie Lindgren this season has some of the highest of highs for a goaltender and the lowest of lows. Like this season, you're going to look back at like
St. Cloud, right?
St. Cloud. I had
That's
one
the story
year,
of the red carpet right there.
Exactly. I had 1 year when I was at my freshman year. He was the senior goalie, and that was the year that they lost to Bowling Green, I want to say, in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Terrible, terrible loss. But he's had a high and low this season that, like, he's had shutouts for a really good team. He's won like the leading goaltender on a good Capitals team. He had a windmill save the other night that was like, it looked like the 80s and it was flashy and everybody oohs and ahs. But also 2 weeks before that, he scored on himself. He put the puck in his own goal.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
This
okay. Now that you're done hating,
now that I'm done hating on that,
talk about the great Russian rocket.
Boy, what a play, what an effort! And this is where we've joked about it, but it seems like when he plays a team that he formerly played against, or played for, I should say. We saw that on New Year's Eve, a little more hustle, a little more jostle in his step. He's trying to outwork. The forecheck has a little more ferocity to it. It kind of stuck with him. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, pal, why don't you just do that every night?" This is, I think, that sort of plays, I think, what they were hoping for when they signed him to a 4-year deal, because it was on the penalty kill. He's supposed to be out there for that.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think anybody's expecting the offensive output, but at the same time, the underlying stats that we were told when the signing was made is that he does have offensive capabilities when out there. That's exactly what it is. It's nice to see it's there. Like, the car has doors. The car has a steering wheel. Everything's able to drive. It's just we don't turn the key enough. So Yakov Trenin, just turn the key, start the engine a little bit more, and then we're going to be just fine, and we will get off your back.
Do what you can do. I like with Boldy, he can do a lot.
Yeah.
And we need to see that. In no way, shape, or form am I comparing Yakov Trenin to Boldy. But that being said, I am saying that what he did last night was based on pure effort.
Yeah.
Like, yes, go, forecheck. The goaltender gave the puck up. You're right, he gives the puck up. Okay. Like, that was a hell of a play.
And it was a solo effort. Like, it wasn't gift wrap to him. He made that play happen out of nothing.
That's how you win that game.
Yes.
Without that play, they don't win. Like that game, that's where, again, it was gritty. The Dallas game was an abomination on both sides, and you got fortunate.
Yeah.
Ottinger struggled, you got fortunate. Mm-hmm. But that was like, if you want the recipe, the analogy to baking, how did you bake that win cake? Yakov Trenin played a huge role. Huge role. And yes, Age, you brought up the fact that we met up at the Wild game Tuesday night, New Year's Eve, a celebration. The Wild won that game. It was great. And it was great to see you and your gal. But I got bad news. It wasn't the highlight of the night for the Zolgats. It wasn't even close, because what was our pregame stop at Parlor Bar down West 7th in St. Paul, which was absolutely an outstanding stop. And guess what? They want to see you before a game as well. They have a special game day menu that's available 3 hours before games. It's the ideal spot for a pregame meal or a family gathering as well. And I'm going to tip you off to, so like the Parlor Burger is the first line center. We're going to talk about that one. That is your go-to. I know that, and it's fantastic. But Dawn and I got that, and we also got the chicken sandwich, which is the first line left wing. 55 goal scorer. We split it. It was absolutely outstanding. So I am going to implore you, yes, get the burger, but if you go with a friend or your wife or girlfriend, get the chicken sandwich and split them, and you are going to say, Sports Dad, you were so right. It's incredible. So again, check out Parlor Bar, a great place to stop before the game down West 7th Street in St. Paul. Open 4 to 10 p.m. Monday and Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. They also have a fantastic brunch, first line stuff, I'm telling you. All right, let's get to Jared Spurgeon. Okay. So Bill Guerin addressed the media on the road trip last night in Washington right before the game, said that Spurgeon, who we saw taken off with what looked like a really bad injury against the Predators on Tuesday night, he is saying he'll be out week to week. I also saw that he basically said we expected to be 2 to 3 weeks, which, by the way, considering what we saw, if it's 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be amazed. Like, his leg, he got slew-footed. His leg slammed into the boards. It looked like it could have been broken. We didn't know. But Spurgeon out 2 to 3 weeks. So just to put this into some context here, Spurgeon out now. Kaprizov with a groin has missed 4 games. It will be 5 because he didn't travel when they play Carolina on Saturday. Jake Middleton so they've got this like return to action plan. So he's like doing hockey stuff now. But his finger is still holding him out. Might be back at some point, maybe next week at the earliest, probably. And then Jacob Lauko is out with a groin. So Kaprizov groin, Lauko groin. But let's get to the Spurgeon play. So the suspension came down yesterday for the Predators player age. 3 games for Zachary. Is it
LaRue?
LaRue?
LaRue.
LaRue. It's a very long name to be LaRue.
Yeah,
but anyway,
stretch
he
can
gets
man.
3 games. My stance is this: he's a goon. Like he's been suspended for 9 games in the Quebec League. He's been suspended 2 games in the minors. The NHL cannot use that against him, so he is a first-time offender in air quotes, which is a bunch of BS. I think he's probably most games a scratch. I guess my question is this: why was he even playing? Injuries? Like this is a very like 1980s to 90s player. But the Spurgeon thing is, I think if it's 2 to 3 weeks, the most important thing, they dodged a huge bullet. I am, I guess, a little bit skeptical after seeing that if it will be that he can return that quickly.
This is where I hate the lack of specificity with these injuries, because we just are told lower body. They're not going to share too much more than that. But I would love to know.
It gets out eventually.
Exactly. But as of right now, like I would love to know if it's knee or if it's ankle or what, because if it's knee, I understand where that seems more like a miracle than anything. But these skates nowadays, Judd, and I don't know what the last time you've been in a hockey store or seen like the latest and greatest like CCM tack skate or whatever. These boots are so stiff, like unbelievably stiff, to where like the average consumer, you don't need to spend that much. Just being honest. It's
okay.
They're over $1,000. They are like cement. Obviously, you break them in and everything, but they are super light, but so stiff. So you almost get like that kind of similar to how like football players might tape up their ankles for that ankle support or whatever. You get that with these skates too. So like if it's ankle, that's maybe telling me stuff was locked in more and not as bad, to where, instead of like something broken, maybe it's like a fracture. Like
I thought it was his leg at first.
Yeah, I did. So
because of how he positioned himself.
Yeah, and the fact that he didn't put weight on it, I guess going off is maybe more cautious than anything. But
sure,
I'll tell you what I would say at the end of this.
Okay,
they're saying 2 to 3 weeks. I would say play it on the safe side, and it probably depends on when a Jake Middleton potentially can return. But you have the rest of this month. If you go 2 to 3 weeks, that's probably at the end of this month. You have like 5 games maybe to start February, and then you have that time off for the Four Nations face-off.
Okay.
If it's a like a he's 80-90% at that time, I would say, depending on where you're at in the standings too and how the team looks, just hold him off through that and play it on the safe side, because you're going to get that break anyways. Don't try to rush him back for 1 or 2 games right before that, just to potentially either re-aggravate it, re-injure it. Let it heal, because you're going to need him, especially with how well he's played. I think I didn't expect this level of play coming off of last year's injury. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that, given his age, given his size, he needs to be as healthy as possible. So that Four Nation face-off break would probably be like after that would be when I would say he should probably resume getting in the lineup.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And I you know what? Again, if he gets back in 2 weeks, I'll be amazed. Mm-hmm.
It looked rougher than 2 to 3 weeks.
And the hockey world don't tell you to the point of lower body. I mean, I looked today, I believe that Middleton's injury is listed as lower body because I guess it's on his finger. But if I raise my hand up here, it's upper body. So like I'm just saying, no offense to Guerin, and look, sports guys fudge the truth constantly, and it's fine. It's what they do. But I'm not buying it. I think what you just said is probably right. And here's the secondary thing off that. It's the Kaprizov. It's a groin. They are making it very specific, and I don't blame him. He came in, whether he told him or not before, he came in after that Blackhawks game before the break and said, I got some problems here, okay? Mm-hmm. Groins don't heal quickly, and they're very you rush them back, it's going to get worse. It's going to be more time. That's the other timetable I'm really curious about. And I think the Wild's smart enough, and all teams try this if they can. If they say, hey, Kaprizov, week to week, panic button gets pushed everywhere, right? Like, oh my God, week to week, oh my God, so I'm also not buying what they're selling on Kaprizov, but I'm not criticizing them. I think being smart here is the most important thing, because if you bring him back too soon, and the way he plays, he ain't slowing down. Like, he's not going to be more careful. And I don't even know with a groin you can be, because it's, the the muscle gets stretched. That's the other one. I am very, very curious about the timetable there and what they're going to try to do, because you have to be smart. If you lose him, if you bring him back too quickly and lose him, I think your battleship might be sunk.
That is you have to bubble wrap before like you even consider. But I would rather miss him for a longer period of time than try to like get him in for crucial games maybe later down the stretch. He needs to be healthy.
And you've created a bubble too. Like you've created a points bubble. So it's not like you're dying on points. Like you are in a good playoff. Like that start gives you, this is why the start of the season, as we learned a year ago in a bad way, is so huge. You've created wiggle room so you can do what you're saying.
Yes. And it's the bad, like the grades analogy that I usually bring up for that, which is like when you fail that first test or whatever, you're trying to get your average back up, your GPA, and like you ace 4 tests in a row. It's like, okay, I'm still at a C-. They have an A. You can fail a couple tests in a row. You can get that C- on a test.
Senior slide.
Exactly. Yeah. Take lunch off. We're going to go off campus.
Go take a smoke break.
Yeah.
No one will know.
Just Judd high school Judd propping open like the gym door and just letting one rip outside. I'm sure, but
I didn't, but I know those who did.
Yeah, I'm sure. You don't need him right now. Like you're not dying for points. You're not trying to catch up.
Winning some games.
You're winning games too. Like they're making do, and that goes back to Matt Boldy stepping up, Marco Rossi stepping up. Yep. Those types of guys need to step up. For a team that keeps losing crucial pieces, it seems like they're really managing things well. And it's not like they're flopping and they're in the middle of the ocean flailing for their life. They're treading water and then some. Like they're staying well above water.
Yep.
For I think most people, as much as we've maybe been hard on them, you just listed off the past like 5 games, they've won. They're winning. So when it comes down to it, as much as I would love to have him in the lineup, you have to be so careful because also, was it maybe 2 last time they were in the playoffs? I mean, he got hurt. I want to say in that Winnipeg game, or
in the regular season,
missed in the regular
time
season,
and came back for the playoffs, and as I recall, did nothing.
Yes,
because he was hurt.
And that was probably a mix too of really no supporting cast. So, he was just focused on by the other team and just was shut down. So he wasn't able to do normal Kirill Kaprizov stuff. But if he's healthy, who knows how that goes? Same thing here. You need him healthy because that's the most important time of the season. Frankly, I don't care if you are the number 1 wild card to the 3rd seed. You need him in your lineup. That trumps everything else rather than home ice advantage or that type of stuff. You need Kirill Kaprizov, number 97, in your lineup for the playoffs.
And to be clear, too, it's a fine line. Like you don't want to lose a bunch of games. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
But you also have to understand that with a groin injury, you could lose him for a long period of time. And so like that's the fine line, which is what's nice about creating a cushion by being so successful to start the season was you've given yourself some room there. And I mean, you know what, too? John Hines continues for the most part to do a fantastic job. Like John Hines deserves still a ton of credit. The win last night, I don't know if Dino's team wins that game. I feel like they fall behind, and then there seems to be a bit of a more professional resilience, if that's a correct terminology. The last thing for you, as a young guy, do you understand how special it is that you got to watch one last time, at least, well, it could be because they play again in March. But anyway, one of the last matchups ever between Marc-Andre Fleury and Ovechkin, because that was a special, special thing, I thought, including the fact that I like it. Ovechkin scored a goal. He got stopped, but he scored a goal. It was cool.
Yeah. I mean, first off, that helps your, dream fantasy of him doing many people, I would say, scoring, breaking the record at the X. Wayne Gretzky's there too, blah, blah, blah. That helps that path go. But these guys have been going back and forth in this sort of, and obviously I think Ovi Crosby is the one that everybody associates those two with, like no doubt. But he is the goalie, I think, that I mean, he's been on the opposite side of that with Pittsburgh for how many years? They've been doing this since like the Bush administration, Judd. Like that's how long it's been. These guys have been around forever. It's two legends of the game, and they called it perfectly on the broadcast last night for that shootout attempt. It's Hall of Famer against Hall of Fame. There's no question. First ballot for both. Yeah, whenever they decide to hang them up, like you might as well just get them in the Hall immediately. That was one of the coolest things. As much as the kind of retirement trip and everything that we've seen for Flurry this year, getting the nods, kind of like the final farewells against certain teams and everything like that. We're going to hopefully see it again here in March if things work out that way with goalie matchups and stuff. But it was nice to have it one more time, especially on the road in Washington, a building that Flower is super familiar with. Ovi does score as much as it stinks. The Wild get the win, so we can all live with it. But also, it's just so cool. Like every time he scores, I'm rooting for it. I don't care. I texted one of my buddies who is not as hockey efficient. He's like, "Oh, hey, is Ovechkin still? Is he on the ice?" I was like, "Yeah, he's actually playing right now." Blah blah blah. He goes, "How cool would it be if he broke the record tonight? As a joke, needed 25 goals." Or, frankly, I would be fine with it. That how cool that would be.
I'd love to see him break it against the Wild.
Yeah, obviously great. A 25
and he scores a ton of goals against them. Well, yeah, no, but I'm saying so from the Star Tribune, from Sarah's story, I want to read you a paragraph because I have finally found someone who's with me on this possibility. Okay. So in her game story off of last night, she says at 871 goals, Ovechkin is 24 shy of passing Wayne Gretzky. This was the third time he has scored in 4 games after being out 16 games because of a fractured fibula. But despite that injury, he could still break Gretzky's record this season, perhaps around the time these teams square off at the X on March 27th. Dare to dream. Dare to dream. They'll stop the game. Gretzky will come out. When Gretzky broke Howe's mark, they literally stopped the game. Howe came out, spoke. I mean, it would be off the hook.
It's going to be the hottest ticket in town. I mean, frankly, if you haven't gotten a ticket yet, you may as well buy one now. Yeah, it's going to be like that. Might be a flexed type thing to where it might be picked up like nationally televised because I think everything's going to be on Ovi Watch. Like every NHL network's going to have like Ovi Watch the entire time, like constant look-ins at whatever game. And frankly, they should.
And Gretzky's going to have to follow him around.
Oh yeah,
I think Howe did that. I think Howe followed Wayne around.
Yeah, you have to stop. You have to do all the dramatics. And if they do it on the road, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's at the XL Energy Center. Whatever building he's at, you need to treat him as if he's one of your own. Fans, and I'm sure they will, but the fans are going to and should cheer. I don't care if it's an overtime goal against your team in a must-win game. Yeah, I know. That is a feat of sport that I don't think we will ever see again. Like the fact that he's been doing it for this long.
Well, we thought that with Gretzky though.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. But I mean, it's just so many goals though, Judd. It's so many goals.
I know.
But whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm glad that there's a possibility that this happens. Like this for all of the torment that Minnesota sports goes through, never really getting that big one, at least as of late in the past 30-ish, 35 years.
Yep.
Having something like that would be a nice little notch on the belt.
It would be arguably the coolest record to be broken in the state. There was a spate in the 90s before your time. There was a run of guys who got their 3,000th hit at the Metrodome. Who did it? Winfield, I believe, here.
Okay.
Eddie Murray here. Cal Ripken had like a 5-hit night on a Saturday night to get it. Okay. So but I gotta think if you break the all-time goals scored record here, I think it's probably the coolest sports, not like championship, but the coolest singular achievement record wise that we would have seen.
Yeah, because
it's for me just such a rarity.
Yeah, for me that trumps the 3,000 hit club
and there's a lot of. I mean, there's. I shouldn't.
It's a very exclusive club, and it's a major feat. But yeah, it's like there's a group. It's not this mind blowing thing when it happens. This has been years. And granted, same thing for 3,000 hits, but this is years in the making. it's one guy.
He'll
and
be
I
an
think,
exclusive company by himself.
exactly. So, and it's not like, it's just, especially in today's game, how it's adapted. Baseball pitchers are getting better at everything like that, but when it comes to like hockey,
Yeah.
I think there's been talk that like they need to make the goals bigger or the pads smaller. Like goalies are too good. He's been a constant since 2004. He's been so good every single year. He broke his leg and he's back after 40 days.
16 games out, and he's an old man.
Yeah, and still 4 shots left. He had 8 shots the other night. He just shoots, and I love it. And he knows exactly what he's going for. And the fact that the Capitals are looking like a very decent, above average hockey team, I think is just cherry on top, because it wasn't last year where he was struggling. They were struggling.
Oh, the first half he was terrible. There was questions about if he would get the mark at all.
Yeah,
and then he got hot, and then the Capitals and the Wild are the 2 biggest surprises in the entire league. I think the Devils are third, but the Capitals, I mean, nothing was expected. Carberry's done a great job as coach. So Ovechkin scored 28 goals against the Flower, but the Flower gets the last laugh because the Flower's teams are 28, 14, and 3 against Ovechkin's Caps. So there you go.
All right.
There you go. All right,
the inevitable Stanley Cup matchup between the Wild
no question about
and the Capitals. He's going to break the record at some point, but
it's coming.
The Wild can get the cup over him, and that'll be the final send-off. They can walk into the hockey heavens together.
I love how you think. All right, we are done. Judd's Hockey Show. He's AJ. I am Judd. We'll see you soon.